dang, but those Romans were brutal. Today I'm going to be doing my review on a book that has taken me far too long to read, and that is Rome, the Emperor's Spy by M.C. Scott. I know, it's a review that's been a long time coming because I did start reading this book in January, then I put it down. I've just picked it up and read the majority of it in the first couple of days of March, and I did enjoy what I read. Rome, the Emperor's Spy is a historical fiction set in the Roman period, 64 AD, obviously during Nero's reign. Now, I won't say any more about this until I just mention one point, and that is this is a series that is after another 4-part series, the Boudicca Series, which is obviously about the Romans invading Britain, Britain trying to fight off the Roman conquest, and there are a couple of characters in here that are in that other series, but you do not need to read the other series to read this. I have not read the other series, and I really don't think that the characters in this really spoil that other series, but I just thought I'd mention that quickly in case people think I'm spoiling something by reviewing this completely separate book that has nothing to do with that. But like I said, there is some character crossover. I am not going to be reading the Boudicca series. It's about druids. It's a lot about druids, whereas this one was about a Roman spy, and it's more of a spy thriller. The book starts with Math, a young, almost 10-year-old chariot boy. He's working at the docks. He is many different things, depending on what he needs to be, particularly a thief and a whore. Really, he is there at the docks that day pretending to be a fisherman because he's been told to follow this spy coming off the ship from Britain, and that is Sebastos Pantera. Now, Sebastos Pantera has had an awful time in Britain. He was tortured for years and left crucified until they realised that he was and had lived in Rome and was a spy. So he was saved and brought back over. With Sebastos being a fantastic spy, it doesn't take long until he catches Math. Fortunately, he takes a shining to him and takes him under his wing and teaches him the spy business. Now, the main plot of this book is centred around Emperor Nero. Nero finds a prophecy that predicts that Rome will burn, and he sends Sebastos off to find out when it's going to happen and to prevent it from happening. And to make matters worse, Nero lusts after Math and will most likely kill him after he gets his way. So that's just the general plot of the book, like I said, and I have to say I did have a lot of fun reading it. It took a bit to get into though. I think that was the main problem. The first pages, the writing, I don't think the writing is the best. It's not like amazing writing, but it's not bad writing. There's some sentences are long and there was a lot of ands in it, which did distract me a little bit, but then I really got into it and I liked it because it was fast paced and just really quick to read through, just for some kind of easy reading, which is exactly what I needed. So I waited until this came to me at the right time to fully enjoy it. It was really brutal because obviously this is ancient Rome, but none of it was gory. There were no gory descriptions, so although, like I said, Rome is a very brutal time and a lot of things happened, a lot of deaths, a lot of torture, it was easy to read. I felt at one point like I needed more historical context to really understand what was going on, but by the end of the book I did understand it, so I think it teaches you about certain parts of Rome as well, although maybe a little bit more historical context wouldn't have gone amiss. Obviously the historical background is pretty straightforward in regards to the fire, you know, the Great Fire of Rome. And obviously everyone says that Nero was fiddling when Rome was burning. Character-wise, some of them underdeveloped, kind of confused. I think characters is a high and low point of this book because half the characters were well developed and I felt for them, and even like Nero, he was, you know, there was like fear when I was reading the parts that had him in. But then other characters, they were just names, but there wasn't as much to them, which kind of annoyed me a bit. I think that more character development could have been needed. A bit more plot development could have been needed too. Some parts of the plot happened where I was just a bit like, what? So all in all, this was an enjoyable read, but it wasn't fantastic, it wasn't life-changing. There are probably better books, there are probably better historical fictions about Rome out there. Saying that, I am going to carry on with the series, and I got this sense of fantasy when I was reading it. I know there's a lot of prophecies in it, prophecies is a big part of it, but the way the plot was driven and the way the characters were and kind of what they were doing was very like a fantasy novel, but history. So if you're a big fan of fantasy and you wanted to try some historical fiction, this could be a way to go. But on the whole, I wouldn't recommend it, but I wouldn't not recommend it. If it's something that you'd be interested in and you wouldn't feel that you would had to dedicate loads of time to it, then I'd suggest picking it up and giving it a read. Thank you for watching this review. Please subscribe for more. The main plot of this book is centred around Emperor Nero. Everyone always says Nero fiddled while gnomes. Don't burn the gnomes. And obviously so many people say that Rome fiddled when Nero was burning. What?